Hi guys, if you're new here, I'm Noelle. I'm a photographer, content creator, and I was a full-time traveler. Plus, I have moved around a lot in my 20s. I have been in 5 or 6 major cities at this point. So today I'm going to be talking about a couple things that I wish I would have known before moving out on my own for the first time, before I moved to a new state for the first time, and a new country for the first time. So if you have been considering moving at all, whether it's just out of your parents' house or maybe to a new city, a new state, a new country, whatever it is, I'm gonna talk about a few things that I've learned from doing all of those things that I wish I would have known before I did. I'm 26. I moved from my hometown to Minneapolis. I did a semester in Norway. I came back to Minneapolis, then I was in Denver, London, Barcelona, back to London, and now I'm in Chicago. So I have moved around a lot. I'm gonna start with the absolute basics because when you first move out, I know at least in my experience, I was used to living in college housing, which one, all of our college houses came furnished. And 2, I was always putting my parents down as guarantors. My income, because I was a student, didn't affect me being able to get approved or denied for an apartment. I think college housing is just different in that aspect. So there was just a few things that I was unaware of before I signed for my first apartment. When I made that first move from Minneapolis to Denver, something that I had to ask myself is, are you financially ready? Was I financially ready? Probably not, but learn from my mistakes. There was a few things that I maybe should have taken into consideration before moving into an apartment. To start at the absolute basics, when you're renting an apartment, you need to make 2 to 3 times the amount that rent is per month in order to afford the apartment. They can approve or deny you. So it's not whether you can actually afford the apartment, it's whether they're going to approve you for the apartment. If you have a roommate, that takes into consideration both of your incomes, or if there's multiple roommates, all of your incomes. So that's also something to consider. It's not necessarily just your income. Then there's gonna be a security deposit. Then there's going to be the monthly fees, mostly utilities. Sometimes they charge you for an application fee, and sometimes they charge you for a move-in fee. So those are all questions you should ask the building that you're moving into or the buildings that you're interested in when you're touring an apartment. What are the monthly fees? What are the move-in fees? What application fees? Everything like that. So you can get a good understanding of how much money you actually need to pay up front to move into the apartment. Now, another big difference for me personally, when I moved into my Denver apartment, it was the first apartment that I had to furnish myself, and I don't think I realized how expensive furnishing an apartment was, starting from absolute scratch, from silverware, pots, pans, dishes, all of that sort of stuff, to buying a couch, a TV, a rug, a kitchen table. I had to buy a mattress. I didn't even have hangers. So taking in consideration that you have little to nothing, you're going to have to save at least a couple $1,000s to furnish a place if you don't have anything. Maybe you already have some stuff and then you can bring it from older apartments or whatever your situation is. But in my case, I was starting from absolute scratch and I did not realize how expensive it was to furnish a big living space for the first time on your own. Life is a lot easier when you're not stressed about finances, so definitely take that into consideration, especially when you're looking at how much you want to spend on rent. But these are also just really good questions to ask the apartments when you're touring them, what their extra fees are, because sometimes they'll just tack extra fees on without saying anything during your tours. You don't take into consideration that there might be extra expenses more than just the rent. You can also ask buildings what on average utilities are gonna be, security deposit. Obviously you'll get your security deposit back if there's no damages to the apartment, but that is like a big chunk of money that you're not going to have for a long period of time, whether it's like a year, 16 months, however long you're renting your apartment. So just making sure that you are able to live financially without that chunk of money. Those are just some things to take into consideration before deciding if you're ready to move out or ready to get this new apartment in this new city, new place. And then just a little bit about looking for an apartment. When I signed at my apartment in Denver, the most important thing on our list for our apartment in Denver when we were looking at was what the inside looked like, how much square footage we were gonna get, what the views from the bedroom were. And in reality, I've learned it didn't matter so much in Denver because I had a car. But now that I'm in Chicago and I don't have a car with me, location, location, location. Location is the most important thing, in my opinion, whether it's the neighborhood that you want to live in or it's within that neighborhood that you want to live in. How close are you to restaurants? How close are you to the grocery store? Are there gyms in your area that you'd want to go to? Are the things that you use on a daily basis in a good location for you, whether that's within your neighborhood or whether that's within the city and you're picking the correct neighborhood. I did learn that pretty quickly in Denver as well. I wouldn't have necessarily picked the location of my apartment if I could redo it. I definitely would have relocated. I loved the apartment itself, but the location was not it. It was not it. So making sure you have your priorities set straight when you go tour apartments, and I think location should be at least top 3 in the priority list. Just making sure that everything that you need is going to be in a doable distance for you, whether that's driving, whether that's walking, whether that's public transportation. Also taking into consideration if you don't have a car, are there public transportation stops near you? Right now where I currently live, I don't really have train stops that are near me or convenient. I have bus stops. So just another thing to take into consideration if you don't have a car. The third thing that I think is really important, especially when you're relocating to a new city or a new country, a new state, and you're no longer in a place where you have a lot of familiar faces, you don't know a lot of people, is making friends, in my opinion, can make or break a city. I have heard so many stories of people not liking the city that they moved to simply because they didn't establish themselves within their community, they didn't make friends, they didn't go out and do things and have human connections with people in that specific city that they moved to, and that makes them not have a good experience in the city. What this means really is you're going to have to leave your house, you're gonna have to put yourself out there, especially if you're moving by yourself, but even if you're moving with friends. Like, I moved to Denver with my best friend, I moved to London with my best friend, but we still had to go out of our way to make sure that we were making more friends and kind of building a community in the new spots that we were in. I moved to Chicago completely by myself. I've been here for about 3 months now, and I'm just now establishing some pretty good friendships, and it's completely changed how I spend my time and how much I love Chicago. I absolutely adore Chicago, and like last weekend I was able to go out with a friend on Friday night, and then 5 different friends all got together on Saturday, and I just kind of meshed my friends together and we had such a fun night. And it was the best weekend because I'm starting to develop those friendships here, and I can feel like a sense of community. And so it's no longer just me living in a city and, you know, exploring the city by myself, but I actually have people here that I can rely on and reach out to and spend time with, and it's really going to make or break your experience, in my opinion. So if you want to have a good experience and you're moving, make it a priority, especially if that's going to affect like where you're living. If you know a lot of young people live in certain areas, move to those areas, spend time in those areas, but make it a priority to get yourself out of the house and reach out to people, go up to people, make sure that making friends is going to be a priority for you. If you are planning on moving to a new city and maybe you're post-grad, you just graduated, or you're thinking about getting a new job, again, just kind of with the financial part of it, I would highly recommend getting and establishing a job before you move to the city. I have done it the other way. The negative part about moving to a new city when you maybe don't have a career established or have a job set up in that city already is it's just stressful. Kind of goes along with everything that I was saying about like the financial aspect of it. It's just going to make your experience more stressful, and you're already in a new unfamiliar situation that can already be kind of a stressor in people's lives. So making sure that that is not an aspect that's going to stress you out, but it also can be a good place to make friends and build a community in a new city. So I would highly recommend setting up a new job before you move to the new city, if that is why you're moving to the city. Those were just a few thoughts that I had about things that I wish I would have known before I moved for the first time. If you're thinking about moving, I hope this helped a little bit. If you have any other questions, let me know. You can just leave them in the comments. I can answer them on that, or I can do a second part to this video, but just let me know, and I will see you guys in my next video.